This is part 3 of chapter 19. In the late 1800s, black Southerners were not the only group that faced prejudice. And here's a definition of prejudice: an irrational hostility toward another person, group, or race. Um, One of the things that was also going on at the same time was anti Catholicism. Catholics had been coming to Georgia since before the Civil War to escape the potato famine in Ireland. There were also around this time Italian and Southern European Catholics beginning to come to Georgia. By the late 1800s, leaders of the Democratic Party began to fear Catholic political power, and in 1915, when the KKK was reestablished, Catholics became one of its targets. In class, we will talk about this political cartoon. So take a look at it and be prepared to discuss the symbolism in this drawing by the time you come to class. Not only was there anti Catholicism, there was anti Semitism, which is anti Jewish prejudice. Even though Jews had been some of Georgia's earliest settlers back in Savannah, Oglethorpe welcomed them. There was a rise in anti Jewish prejudice around 1900. Leo Frank was a northern Jewish manager of a pencil factory in Marietta. Mary Fagan was a young worker in that factory. She was murdered, and Frank was convicted and sentenced to death, even though the evidence against him was very weak. We'll talk a little bit more about the trial, and we'll also watch Georgia Stories to get a little bit more information about it. But he was convicted and sentenced to death. Georgia's governor at the time, John Slayton, believed that Frank was innocent. He had been watching the trial carefully and thought that it had not been a fair trial. He commuted or changed Frank's sentence to life in prison. Frank was moved to the state prison in Milledgeville, and Governor Slayton basically had to leave town, leave Georgia under police protection because people were so enraged that he would change Frank's sentence from the death penalty to life in prison. An outraged mob took Frank from the prison. We'll talk about how that happened. Carried him back to Marietta and lynched him. Um, Nobody was charged with the crime, even though people had their pictures made with the hanging body. Like I say, we'll watch a Georgia Stories and get more details about that.